was cramping coming towards the finish and was unable to contest the sprint. So anyway, a little bit of pressure on Bora Hansgrohe. They seem to have switched off the front at the moment and possibly happy to sit back and let those who are watching Alex Dowsett here, as you say, Brian, in his last race as a pro at the back alongside Rick Zabel, a long-time teammate of his, of course. I'm just glad to see that he's had nice weather. You wouldn't want last year's, well, like poor old Andre Greipel had last year, for your last race in the pro peloton to have conditions like that. It would be, well, you'd be pleased to see the back of it. I think this is slightly more pleasant.
And one of your main rivals of your career winning it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, as you said, though, Greipel was in that leading group with Cavendish last year. It was a fascinating finale. But in the end decided to, well, once the sprint had opened up, sat up and just took in the crowd and enjoyed the view as well. And well, he might have done.
There was absolutely no gifts. And, you know, at that time, Cav possibly thought that could have been his last race. You know, we were talking about that during the race last year, but luckily he's had another year and, you know, still to confirm where he's going next year, but... You know, I think he will be in the pro peloton. Obviously not with Quick Step, but this is Sam Welsford here. He kind of broke through a little bit this year, coming over from the track. Really good sprinter. So it'll be interesting again if they go with Degenkolb or they go with Welsford. Certainly they're not giving any of the results away from the Crow race, but definitely the young guns seem to be riding well. So let's see if some of the experienced riders can deliver a result today.
So the teams combining at the front: Alpecin de Koning, Quickstep Alpha Vinyl and Bike Exchange Jayco. The teams of Jasper Philipsen for Alpecin de Koning, of course, Fabio Jakobsen for Quickstep Alpha Vinyl, and then Dylan Groenewegen, the Dutchman, for Team Bike Exchange Jayco. These are the names we expect to see locking horns at the end of this one. They've given away about another 45 seconds to our breakaway, who have again just over 4 minutes of lead now over the peloton. And this is Jason Osborne, the German rider, who's on the front for Alpecin de Koning. Getting a rundown of their team here. Philipsen at the top there. Alexander Krieger, such a useful lead-out man for Jasper Philipsen. We've seen him do it so many times. A very good sprinter in his own right. There he is going through our shot there with the 1:06 on the back of his bike. That's Max Walscheid here. A tall, powerful figure. He's concentrating much more over the last couple of seasons on his sprinting. He's also a very accomplished time trialist, of course. But the most important thing is he is German, so a little bit more pressure on him today, as a former winner of this race too, of course. There's an even more relaxed feel about this than normal, Brian, isn't there? It's got that end of term feel to it. As you've mentioned, cyclocross season's already started. I've done my first commentary on the exact cross within field last weekend, I think it was. And cross season's already well underway, and this is the dying embers of what's been a really good road season. Actually, it has felt back to normal. And there's Pascal Ackermann. It would be, I don't know what you think, but I think it'd be quite a fitting end to his season to get a win today, Ackermann, because he's been knocking on the door in the back end of this season, not least in the Vuelta, of course. There's Sam Bennett.
I think all of these top sprinters that we've got not only want to win, but to beat their rivals more than anything. It's nice to have a win in some obscure race somewhere, but I think it's more of a victory when you're up against the top sprinters in the world, and we have arguably got the top sprinters here. Okay, we're missing a couple, but we've definitely got most of the top sprinters in the world here, and you know that means a lot to these sprinters, not just winning today, but also winning in the field that they've got. Okay, a small field, but a quality sprint field.
Well, the peloton are still on the flatter road that leads between Stromberg. Well, we're on a loop, effectively. I should have explained that, folks. My apologies. Apart from the finishing circuit, there is only one re-looped section of the course, and we're into it now. It's a double loop that takes in the Stromberg twice. It's only short, about 6 kilometres, 7 kilometres round. But it does mean they go up Stromberg twice, so that climb is classified twice as well. It's only about 800 metres in length. Average gradient 3.6%, but it provides an opportunity for our breakaway, of course, to fight out for that mountains classification. One national team here, of course, and that is the team of Germany. This is Max Kanter, who's riding for them, the Movistar rider, of course. I'm presuming he's just dropped off the back for something. He is their most experienced and highest ranking rider. I do like that, Brian. I don't know how you feel about it. I know normally national teams in races like this are given opportunity for young riders to cut their teeth at this level, maybe. But when you see a world team rider dropping into the national team, tell me your thoughts on that. Have you got it's. I don't know. On paper, I would think it provides an opportunity for the young riders to then focus around that rider and learn from supporting a leader, depending on what the kind of race is and that sort of thing, and gain from their experience. What do you think?
Well, I think if you've got a young team, it has to be, a developing team, a German national team. It has to be the youngsters. I don't think. Depending on the sports director, of course, and the experience that you can give to these riders. I know that Great Britain have tried it in the past, especially in the Tour of Britain. But for me, give the youngsters a chance. Give them the exposure to the big race. The experience will come from the sports director in the car. So I don't really think that it should be bolstered by riders from the kind of pro teams above in the World Tour, but it's each country to their own. The Italians do it in a lot of the races where they combine. I think it was it Caruso that won the Tour of Sicily riding for the Italian team. So sometimes they have that, and I think if you're looking at the Italians riding together for the World Championships that we've just had, it's good experience for that to happen. If you use it as a kind of get together for World Championship purposes, because the only time that national teams get together are at the World Championships, and it's getting them to ride as a team, which they don't often do. So I know the Italians do it a lot more than any others, but certainly in this race, if I was a young rider and they brought in a World Tour rider and I never got that chance, then I wouldn't be happy.
Yep, I see that. I see that perspective, absolutely. We're on the rise back up to the Stromberg ascent top. Nice narrow road, and they've taken this in once already, of course. And at the moment, this battle for our King of the Mountains prize, our Hills prize, is between effectively two riders, Julian Borech and Sebastian Nijos. Seeing an on-board shot here. I'm not seeing who this is from. And that gives you a nice perspective of, despite the fact that it looks quite relaxed in that peloton, if you're not used to racing or riding a bike in a big pack, just how tight these riders are. There you go, Casper Andersen is the UAE Team Emirates rider. The Dane with the action cam. Not the best of quality, but you get the idea. If you're wondering, by the way, folks, why we have such a big race, and to give it its context, it is a Point Pro race, this. So second rung, if you like, one down from the World Tour, Point Pro on the Europe Tour. And why we have it on a Monday is because today is German Unity Day. So it's a national day in Germany, national day of holiday, and there's plenty of fans out to enjoy this. It's been the German reunification was 1990. So this is the 32nd anniversary of this day in Germany today, hence why there's a big race happening. Nice crowds out enjoying it on this sunny late summer, early autumn day in Westphalia, North Rhine. The sport director, by the way, in case you're wondering, is Fabian Wegmann, brother of Christian Wegmann. Fabian Wegmann is in the lead car and I do believe driving him is Christian Wegmann. So the brothers, both from Münster, where they both still live, I believe, are at the helm of this race and taking in this exciting new course once again in the race's 16th edition. This race, by the way, folks, in case you're wondering, is another example of a legacy event. This is one of the reasons why it's always so nice to see our big grand tours going to and starting in certain places. I would hate to think that that happens and there isn't a legacy going forward. This is a direct legacy of when the Giro d'Italia finished in Münster in 2002, 20 years ago. This race started shortly after that and has been going ever since as a legacy of that event. On that day, it was Mario Cipollini who was the winner, ahead of Graham Brown and our colleague Robbie McEwen here at the home of cycling as well. That was the day that Chippo took over the Maglia Rosa as well, the lead of the Giro on that opening stage. And this is a direct legacy event from it, and long may it continue as well. So they persist, this group. I think at the moment we might have one of the two Bike Exchange riders looking a little bit ropier. Jesse de Roy has been looking a bit laboured towards the back. There he is, number 132, right on the back. His teammate Sebastian Neuhaus has actually looked like one of the strongest in here, but whenever there's two of them, I guess, you would expect one of them to do a little bit more work. And Jesse de Roy has been leading into the two climbs so far to try and set his teammate up. And he's sat right at the back now. The two riders in the dark green of Bike Aid, the German team, which is Bike Aid itself is all about providing bicycles and cycling opportunities to get African riders into partly the sport and partly the pastime and travel experience of using a bicycle as well. This is the climb we've just seen them on as we watch the peloton making its way up there. I said 118 riders started the race today. It's actually a little bit more than last year. Slightly dwindling numbers in some of these teams. Some of these teams only fielding 5 riders. Jumbo-Visma, in fact, only fielding 5 riders today. So Olaf Koy has, looking after him, pretty decent team, it has to be said. Edoardo Affini, the Italian time trial powerhouse, he'll be useful, I'm sure. Michael Hessmann, who is a local man. He's actually from Münster, Hessmann. They're German in the Dutch team. And they also have Tosh van der Sande, the experienced Belgian, and Tim van Dijke, the Dutchman for Jumbo-Visma. Olaf Koy, as we've seen in the past as well, might not need all of them to protect himself. He's very good at ducking and diving, hiding in the wheels and waiting. I'll repeat it again, this is his first pro year and he's had 14 wins. Not a bad hit rate. Brian, I'm not sure if while I was waffling away we've missed the breakaway going over the top of the climb, but I think they have. We will we'll watch the peloton go through there at the same time. They then head.
I think they're just on it now, have they not? 122.2 in the road book, so a couple of 100 metres.
Yes. Yeah, they've got this left-hander into it. You can see them speeding up. And there we go. There it is again for the second time. I remember this from last time around. This is Ole Thaler, who is leading. They might have gone a little bit early. Once again, Julian Borech is set on trying to get that mountains classification. This is where he was tracking last time, and it's the two Bike Aid riders who are now finding this a little bit harder. Janis Peter went very early this time last lap. It does look like Julian Borech once again might be the best finisher in these hills. He is the rider second wheel there with 152 on his back for Saris Ruvi Sauerland team in that kind of silvery grey jersey. Ooh, Janis Peter's not given up though. He's going to try and see if he can get the jump. Let's see if he's got anything left. It curves around to the right and then they should see the gantry. Julian Borech just going past Ole Thaler now, and he's going to get this one. So Borech now has won those points both of the laps round this little circuit at the bottom right of our course. They've gone through Beckham, they've gone over the Hoxberg, and now they've taken in the Stromberg twice. There is just one more classified climb today as they go northward, and that is the Pilatusberg. And so far, Brian, this race going very much to the history books and the guidebook. Young riders, mostly German, in the breakaway, allowed to sort out the mountains points between them. They'll be caught with about 10k to go, or maybe 5k to go. But I say this because, as you know, I laugh in the face of fate, and I'd like to see these guys go to the line. Why not?
Well, now if they keep on doing this, they're knocking lumps out of each other, as they say. It's... You know, it's not like they're sprinting the last kind of couple of 100 metres for the King of the Mountains. They're going from the bottom of the climb. It's, what, 1.2 kilometres they were going there for. But, yeah, you have to feel for the bike aid riders. Now they've been dropped. I would think they would wait. There's still 120 kilometres to go, but I don't know what they're talking about now. But that was some effort there by all three of those riders, and even for the bike aid riders to come back. We talk about races of this distance, 205.9, about kind of conserving a little bit of energy, and look at the front of the peloton, just tapping away, you know, not having to go deep. But the 5 riders in front have got, I think, absolutely no chance of going to the finish if they keep that up, sprinting for everything.
I guess it's probably worth bearing in mind they only actually have one more classified climb left anyway, Brian. That's it. After that point, it's like...
I think at the end of the day, Jess, when you're having a race here, it's not as if you're going to attract climbers. It's like having a race in Lincolnshire in the UK. Okay, there's the climb up Michael Gate in Lincoln, but it doesn't last too long. So you're limited. If you're starting the race and finishing it, you know, close by to Munster, you're very limited to what you've got. You know, unless you make it 300 kilometres and you go out and do some climbs and then come back. So you are very limited. But, you know, all the climbs come in this race pretty much in the first half of the race, and then as we start heading back in towards Munster, and then the laps at the end, it is pretty flat. But there's nothing you can do about the terrain.
No, talking of flat, this race, of course, last year started in the Netherlands and then went away across the border, because we're on that part of Westphalia which is right up against the Dutch border. And that's one of the other alternatives for this race, is having bits that dip over into the Netherlands. You're watching Josef Schöne, 4th in the race last year, tapping away on the front, as Brian said, and he has most of his Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl teammates here. No sign of the European champion, Fabio Jakobsen. Of course, he'll be hiding a little bit further back, I'm sure. But it's definitely them and Bike Exchange Jayco who are showing themselves the most at the front of this peloton, who are now 3.5 minutes down on our breakaway of 5 riders. Lotto Soudal in this race, Brian, with 6 riders, finding themselves still on the wrong side of that cut-off, and we maybe shouldn't dwell too much on promotion relegation, but it's becoming a little bit more clear now between Lotto Soudal and Israel Premier Tech, of course. I'm sure people will relish their update on promotion relegation, but they're the 2 teams who sit just below that cut-off of the top 18 teams, who, as it stands anyway, will go into the World Tour pot next year, and for the next 3 years, in actual fact. The 3 teams beneath them, of course, are all second division pro teams, if you like, already. I don't know whether it's been a more interesting year as a result of that or not, Brian. It's given me something to waffle about every now and again, but I don't know. I know we've talked about it to death, but do you think it's made the year any more interesting? I know it's changed the racing a bit.
Yeah, but I'd like to see them change the point system and make it a little bit more equal. You know, I know we can't go down the football route of 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw, and nothing for a loss. We can't go down that route, but there has to be some sort of kind of formula that's consistent, because some of the the wins you can have in big one-day races doesn't compare to what you have in maybe some of the kind of Grand Tours and stage races and things like that. So there has to be a little bit, I think, tweaking. It's going to be harsh, of course, on Lotto and of course the team of Israel. But like you say, they're 19th and 20th, which would mean that, you know, they would get the first opportunity of the wild cards for many of the top races.
As you can see, Fabio Jakobsen working incredibly hard, barely able to raise a hand to wave. I think they're enjoying themselves. There's definitely a sense of end of season about this one. Having said that, the gap has come down a little bit, so it's all relative, of course, but Fabio Jakobsen right up there in the wheel shadows of his teammates. And there is Dylan Groenewegen, sporting that lion tattoo on his right forearm. He has opted for the tattooed right forearm, just as Sam Welsford has. It's true what you say, Brian, when we talk about wins and we talk about the level and quality of riders and teams and what have you. I mean, here we are talking about Sam Welsford. If you look again at Fabio Jakobsen, enjoying his day out in the sunshine in Germany. You know, we're talking about Sam Welsford, the 26-year-old. Yes, he's made that transition across from the track, but we're talking about him as being one of the best sprinters here, in amongst some of the world's very best sprinters, and some of the best sprinters of the modern era. Yet when we look at the stats, if you were to compare, you know, how many points he's racking up, he only has one win in his pro career, and that was at the Tour of Turkey this year. So that's not necessarily a fair reflection, if you were to go by win hit rate, on just how good he is either. It's cycling's not a fair sport, is it? Road cycling is not always a very fair sport. Time trialling maybe, but there's so much that can happen in a pack of, well, today we've got 118 riders, but it could be 150, could be 160 riders. It's not always fair.
Sam Welsford is the type of sprinter that doesn't always get it right in the end, but when he does, he gets the win. And I think I covered the Tour of Turkey this year, and he popped up from pretty much nowhere and won emphatically. But you know, he's never had that kind of same luck or form since. But then again, he could possibly pop up today. The thing for me now is Bora Hansgrohe, very strong German team with two very good sprinters, one being Irish, one being Belgian. And they aren't riding on the front. I would have thought that they may have put one rider up, certainly just being a German team, but it's been up to Bike Exchange, Alpecin and Quickstep that are doing the riding. I thought Bora may have done it, but they're kind of sitting back and saving everything. But there is a relaxed atmosphere in the peloton, because with the 5 riders in front, I don't think for any moment they believe that they've got a chance of fighting it out for the victory. The weather conditions, you can see from behind the trees and things like that, it's not blowing too hard. We've got a bit of a kind of northwesterly wind, but it's only about 10 kilometres an hour. It's not like last year we split up in the peloton. The peloton split up in the crosswinds. This is going to be a bunch finish today with some of the top sprinters in the world, and that's why they're saving as much energy as possible, because we mentioned it a little bit earlier on that a win's a win, of course, but this is not going to be an obscure win purely because of the talent that's here. It's about winning but also taking scalps at the same time. It's nice to win a stage of the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. Not there's a race there, but you know, I'd like to see a race in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. But it's nice to win a race full stop, but to win in this quality of field of sprinters, then you know that's what these sprinters want first and foremost.
Yes, we watch Quickstep Alpha Vinyl, of course. I'm reminded that it's not just Bora Hansgrohe who are going for a hat-trick today. Bora Hansgrohe are going for that hat-trick of big German wins this year, the biggest one-day races in Germany, but Quickstep Alpha Vinyl and Fabio Jakobsen there going for a hat-trick of wins in this race, because of course, as you mentioned, Brian, 2 years ago the race didn't happen in 2020, but it was Alvaro Hodge riding for Quickstep Alpha Vinyl who was the winner back in 2019, and then Cav riding for them last year. So they'd be going for 3 in a row in this race, despite the fact that we missed this race in 2020. It didn't happen. And we're now actually starting to go ever so slightly, gradually downhill to the next climb of Pilatusberg as we go northward. They're going along the edge of the town of Oelde, and then they go up to the Pilatusberg alongside Enegalo.
I've just been reminded by Sarah Milton on Twitter, Hodge badly broken wrist following training crash at the beginning of the year, still out. It's a long time out, isn't it, to have with a broken wrist?
Yes, I'm guessing it depends how badly broken it is as well. Regular listeners will know that I have the great pleasure of splitting my time between commentating and running a cycling academy, and I've got a junior rider, one of the best downhill riders in the country. I won't use his name, but he was riding national downhill series in Great Britain 2 weeks ago, Brian, and managed to break his forearm, I think, in 3 places, and his wrist, and 3 fingers as well. And obviously he's racing downhill, so it kind of goes with the territory. But one of the things I've been learning with him is how many different kinds of fractures there are, and I'm not aware with Hodge exactly how badly, or where it was broken, and how it was broken, and how quickly it heals. We're so used to, aren't we, seeing riders who come back so quickly from things. Young Ollie Knight, the British rider, pick up another British rider, riding for UAE Team Emirates, is back racing again now, having come back from a fairly recent broken pelvis, if I'm not mistaken, and he's in this race here today, the 21-year-old as well. So we are quite used to seeing riders come back very quickly, particularly the broken collarbone episode. You know, they seem to be, you come back remarkably quickly from it. I guess with people like Hodge, the reason we don't hear so much about people coming back quickly is because he's out, so we don't talk about him. And so thank you, Sarah, for that update.
Well, there's one rider in this race that has got the European Champions jersey on. That is
I would say with the firepower here that it would be a difficult job to bring them back, but if they continue attacking like this and then that stop-starty stuff, it's sort of looking more almost favour peloton at that point.
Well, just to reflect on how quickly things are changing, as we look back to Miguel Angel Lopez, dropped, now then.
Well, exactly.
Well, that's a shock. Of course, a lot of travel in recent times for Miguel Angel Lopez. And here he is, dropped at the back of the leading group. And just while you're giving me that answer about the lack of cohesion, we had a real illustration. That's what I was going to go to, actually, before we saw that surprising shot of Lopez being dropped there. The four riders we had at the front were immediately caught by Matteo Trentin. He started driving it, and again, there's a few coming through and doing maybe soft turns here, but not everybody's contributing fully.
No, far from it.
This is Rubio now, and it's Izaguirre who let the wheel go. Ulisi who marks, and then Van Wilder who follows.
It's working out of this group what sort of composition of riders are the team's going to be happy with, and especially the teams with multiple numbers in here. What are they going to be, happy and confident that they can win out of? Does it require 2 from each? Is it 1 from each, and then looking at who goes with them? It's really not an easy kind of way to deal with this, and I would say right now, the way this little 4-man group here, it's
here. This is the second group with Grégoire Hishi and Honoré. Or the graphic there. Now then, Alaphilippe looking to try and make a move to the right there. Izaguirre was there with him. It does look like Honoré is the one really pulling this along. You can see them up the road, 22 seconds. Now, does that cooperation continue in the front just before this descent starts, or is there a problem? I think there's a bit of looking around here. They know they might be about to be joined.
I'm just going through the list of potential sprinters, and we haven't really, apart from Viviani, we haven't really got a big name sprinter in the lineup here today. So who would put all their cards on a sprint?
Just inside 30 kilometres to go, you're looking at what's left of the peloton. At about a minute from the front of the race, and from the front of the race to the next group you've got 14 seconds now. At the front, if you're just switching on, in the 103rd Coppa, Bernocchi, Van Wilder, Rubio, Ulissi, Jusson being chased by this group. You can hear a bit of chaos there on the camera motorbike, trying to organise things now before we get onto the descent from the final climb of the day. This group, Alaphilippe, Honoré, Izaguirre, Grégoire and Hirschi. And Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl are really well represented. 3 riders in the first 2 groups. There's a third group on the road at about 32nd, including the likes of Matteo Trentin and Nathanael Tesfazion, and then you've got the peloton. And it's contact for the first 2 groups. Forget about the 9 seconds. Romain Grégoire wants to take advantage because he in this group is surrounded by teams with bigger numbers. It's not in his interest to be in a group with, let's say, 3 quick-step riders and 3 UAE riders, is it?
No, definitely not. He needs to try and bring this down to a smaller group, and the fact that they're losing time to the peloton here now. Yeah, you need to get a move on quickly and establish a group that is willing to work together.
You were just talking about a couple of sprinters whilst the television was away at a commercial break and our digital customers were watching with us. Cofidis are well set up, but Cofidis are represented at the front here with Ion Izaguirre. They've got both Consonni and Cimolai. So you can't imagine they want to go and chase Izaguirre here after he's worked his way up the road. It's an interesting one, and like you say, Elia Viviani, certainly someone to have a look at. He's still in the group though. Remember, he's travelled from Croatia overnight.
Yeah. I mean, Alpecin de Koning seem keen to bring this back. Is that for Sparagli?
Sparagli's still got that one win. Robert Stannard is a good fast finisher, isn't he, after a hard day?
Yeah.
Stefano Oldani can sprint. We've seen that before. Of course, he won his Giro d'Italia stage from the breakaway, but I just really enjoy watching Alpecin de Koning riding. I know that they don't have particularly the favourite here today, and they haven't made the breakaway like they did the other day when they won, but they're still riding. They still want to win the bike race, and this is brilliant.
Yeah, I love the fact that they believe that they can win on any given day, and they ride as if they are going to win that particular day. And it's, to me, that's just, it's so good to see a team that just, whatever we're doing, whether we win or fail, it doesn't matter. We give it everything that we can to try at least, and to me that's just a breath of fresh air.
Sort of quick step mentality, isn't it? Now then, a look behind. I'm just wondering what's going on with the time gaps here, because I think that this group has completely faded away, and the next group is going to make contact.
Yeah, and you can see the peloton in the background there as well, so it's coming down very quickly.
We were being told a minute. That has disappeared into thin air.
That's no minute to me. I mean, obviously the camera sort of foreshortens things a little bit, but
it's interesting because there was an interesting story in the press actually about time gaps, wasn't there, at the World Championships, and talk of riders not happy that it wasn't being reported correctly. We heard the same the other day in the other Italian Cup race. So Whatever happened, the difference is not being communicated to us properly, nor the teams, it seems, at the minute, as we see UAE are the team who are leading the Italian Cup. Filippo Zana, the Italian champion, is the rider leading the Italian Cup at the moment, but he's not racing today. So the group within around 10-15 seconds all of a sudden.
Yeah. That group has come together behind them now, so as far as I can work out, the peloton is at less than 9 seconds at this point.
This has all happened on that little section over the top of the Piccolo Stelvio where there was attacks and looking around, and then onto the descent, and you just saw the peloton bombing it down the descent, didn't you? That's 70-80 k's an hour. Not the same rhythm in this group. Quick step Alpha Vinyl. They do have one sprint option in Davide Ballerini. As we see now, Miguel Honoré wanted to push things on. Just trying to break the will of things. One last group maybe get away and people look around. We'll see. That's the end.
I think it's too late for that now. Peloton has got them in their sights and they're not going to just let them drift away.
An incredible turnaround from what we were being. I mean, it's obvious that the time gaps weren't right, but we were being told over a minute, and it seems to have just disappeared. I know there was apathy at the front, but wow, that's happened in the space of about 3 kilometres.
Yeah.
That's a rip-roaring end of the race in northern Italy. We started in Legnano. That's where we're going to finish the 103rd edition of the Coppa Bernocchi. Last year had a Belgian winner in Remco Evenepoel, and funnily enough, it was the first Belgian winner since Rick van Looy in the late 1950s. This race down the years has been dominated by Italians. The likes of Nibali have won here. Viviani, who won in Croatia yesterday, is a former winner, and if he's in the group behind, he might start dreaming again, because it's about to come together. We've got more attacks off the front. We saw Van Wilder having a think about having another go again. He was being followed, I think, by Gregoire. But I'm going to wait and double check that, because behind the rest of the group has come back together. In fact, no, it was our friend, the very impressive young Alain Joussomme, who's followed him, wearing 222. Super number, that. And what a debut it's been for him in this particular race. His first year pro. And despite Ilan van Wilder pushing on, we've now got a completely new situation. With 23.5 kilometres to go, teams you thought were out of it. Ineos Grenadiers in particular, they're back, they're chasing, and they have, we imagine, Elia Viviani somewhere to have a go.
Yeah, you would expect him to be in the mix here at least, and if they are, but just got to be careful of these shorter, steeper climbs here now that there is not another group of fresher riders going up the road, and it sort of drifts clear.
Well, they're trying to get Narvaez, I think it is, up the road into that particular group. You can see that Israel Premier Tech are trying to do that as well. We mentioned there were two of these rises. This is the first, and it's over. Now we've got just over 10 kilometres on the false flat downhill, and then there's one more rise that's similar in gradient and length to what we've just seen, and then after that it's 10 k's to the finish. So 8 riders being followed by 5. This is interesting because I can see a lot of different coloured jerseys here, which might mean there's more chance of people looking around behind if their teammates are up the road.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess if Alpecin get into the mix here as well, there might be less emphasis to chase in the peloton as well.
Jonathan Narvaez, former Giro d'Italia stage winner. He's there for Ineos Grenadiers, who missed that first move on the circuits.
It looks like Hirschi and Kovi from UAE Team Emirates in this group.
Rider from Israel Premier Tech, and there is a rider coming across now from Alpecin de Koning. Several others in the chase. What's happening in the peloton? I think there's enough will still in the peloton, looking and judging by the shape of it. Also, maybe the lack of cooperation in this group, Magnus.
Yeah, it still looks like they're not 100% happy to work together. I mean, it hasn't settled down yet. It needs someone to take a big turn here and just let everyone recovering the wheels a little bit before they sort of just can find that working relationship and start pressing on as a unit.
Long straight road back towards Legnano. 22 kilometres remain. Look at the shape of that peloton. They are still knocking along at a very, very good lick here.
Yeah, it's not going slow, is it?
Well, the rider who got across from Alpecin is Stefano Aldani. On that stage in Genoa at the Giro d'Italia. From a breakaway. Corbin Strong's in here. Really, really solid rider from Israel Premier Tech. From the track. Looks as though there's a bit more cohesion now.
Yeah, like I said, it usually takes a little bit of time before everyone sort of finds their space in the group and realizes that, okay, this is worth persevering with and investing some energy into.
Narvaez was the one driving it. Colby was in there this time for UAE Emirates, but there are teams who are unhappy with this, given the fact that it's one big chase behind and a chase that's even fracturing towards the back. 6 seconds, that's the slim advantage. Now, Agidazet Citroën, one of the teams who are chasing. They have Andrea Vendrame here. But after a hard day, we've seen that at the Tour of Italy as well, haven't we, previously? Interesting that it's a quick step up a vinyl rider sitting on. Trek Segafredo with a couple of their red helmets up towards the front. See what happens to this gap as we come into the final 20 kilometres. Jonathan Narvaez, national champion of Ecuador, so young when he was back wearing this jersey at Quick Step. Since become a top rider for Ineos Grenadiers. Corbin Strong there, looking to continue some strong Kiwi performances recently. Seen some fantastic stuff from Aaron Gate on the track and then on road, and Corbin Strong trying to do that. It's his first year at World Tour level. 22 years of age, and well, that one win that has come so far in his pro career came the other week, didn't it? Opening stage of the Tour of Britain when he beat Omar Fraile to the line in Scotland. Now then, full committal for Bora Hansgrohe, Total Energy and Trek Segafredo. Segafredo have a couple of faster finishes, don't they? Alexander Kamp being one of them, Emil Schlippens another. The gap's growing though, isn't it? 13 seconds. It's nowhere near a done deal yet, but it is just pulling out slowly.
Yeah, there's not enough riders in the peloton chasing against these guys, and they seem to have found a bit of a rhythm here now, working together.
7 strong riders. Alaphilippe, the world champion, at the front. Aldani down there at the back with Van Wilder, Narvaez, Corvi, Hirschi, and Strong all in there. A little chat there between Alaphilippe and Van Wilder. This is Corvi, we know how strong he is, and well, he was up there in this race last year. Talked about him, Evenepoel winning. Corvi finished second. Wasn't a winner of a bike race in his career then. He's gone for from strength to strength since winning at the start of this year. And there we go. They're not happy with each other now.
No, I think the Alpecin, the Koenig rider there was just getting into to the line of riders that were chasing and then sat up when he got to the front, which is a bit of an unwritten rule that you don't do. You let whoever's riding, you let them sort of continue chasing. You just put yourself on the back of that and sort of deter more riders from coming up and doing the chasing, but you don't actually go in there and start messing up with or messing with the riders that are currently working.
Well, Movistar, you'd imagine, would want to chase with Erviti here for Ivan Garcia Cortina, now that they've missed out on the front group. Benedetti will give his all. Riders in their Brand Marché as the break loses a second. It's an intriguing one, this.
Yeah, but now you see that there are enough riders from different teams working together on the front of the peloton, so I'm not surprised to see that the breakaway are losing the odd second here and there based on that fact. So it's going to be a difficult one, I think, for this group to stay away now that you can see there are so many teams really putting the work in.
To remain the case, doesn't it?
Yeah.
16 kilometres still to go. We've got that one launch pad to come as well. Just around 10 k's to the finish. Very short ramp. Coming towards the end of the 103rd edition of Coppa Bernocchi. Who's going to leave at Intermarché at the end of the year, by the way. He's off to Alpecin de Koenig. Cost him a ride at the Tour de France, really. Set to ride that before the team found out he was leaving.
Yeah.
7 seconds.
For Hermans, I think it's ultimately a mix of road and cyclocross, and what provides a good platform to do both. So we know he wants to continue doing a fair bit of cross, maybe not as much as he has done in the past, but he still wants to ride cross.
Shown aptitude in stage racing. We saw him getting on the podium in Liège as well, as the gap is now set at 5 seconds. Another motorbike goes past, and despite the fact that these guys have been working hard, they could be on their way to being brought back, but now Alaphilippe puts in a stronger turn, and it just means that here she has to make that little extra effort to close the gap. And behind, Corvy's struggling to hold the wheel. This is a big hit out, isn't it, for the weekend from Alaphilippe, it feels like.
training rider.
Safe to say he's going well. Good to look back and see exactly where the peloton is here, because we're being told 6 seconds.
Based on how much these riders are looking around as well, I do think that they are fairly close.
Thirsty work for Alaphilippe today. Out of the rainbow bands, back in the blue and white of Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl for the first time in 2 years. And they are indeed close now. 13 kilometres to go. One long bunch that's been brought back here. And we could be set up for a smaller bunch finish. But again, there's one more ramp coming up. There's more opportunities for people to go off the front again, I'm sure. It's all up in the air coming into the final 12.5 kilometres. And I think, though, the decision from this group has been made. Most think they're now going to get caught. Counter-attack from Van Wilder. Strong chases. And that was Corby. And then there were three. But for how long? Was coming across there.
Yeah.
Just out the right hand side of your picture. There he is, sits on the back. The rest of the riders who were at the front have been caught.
We've got about a kilometre now until we hit that next final little ramp. About 400 metres long. Top of that, there'll be around 10k's to the finish. Same sort of road, isn't it? Falls flat downhill. Yep. So we look towards the back of the group, and that is Jimmy Johnson's hard worker for Alpecin de Koning. Ken Farmer are in this race. Certainly their jerseys until now. That's their number 217, Igor Arrieta, son of the Movistar sports director. 6 seconds, they're hanging on this quartet. Mechanical problems in the meantime for Mark Hirschi. And up at the back there. Just trying to see what the problem is. Has he got a puncture?
Head of the race has been given a new lease of life, and here they are on that uphill section. Coming strong behind.
Yeah, they're just dangling out there now. I mean, this is a gap that can be quite easily brought back in the final kilometre if when they start the real lead out. So they're going to need more than this coming into the finish.
Rider coming across from Total Energy. Not sure he's getting much of a gap on the peloton, however. It's just a handful of metres. It looks as though it is all coming together as Narvaez still works left, right, strong on his wheel. Corvy's just behind. Then you have Van Wilder. And then the rider we talked about from Total Energy. Got another rider from Quick-Step with him. Managed to make it across well. Narvaez wants them to keep going. Oh, it's Ballerini now then. Ballerini has been brought across there by Paul Ursulin. And that makes it interesting.
Interesting move from Ballerini, that though.
It's Dries Devenijns, I think, that's come across there. Looks like Dries Devenijns. Ballerini just sitting behind.
Yeah.
That is Dries Stevenijns.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
I was like you then, wondering what on earth he was doing, given the fact he was going to be one of the faster finishers. Dries Stevenijns in this race joins the front group.
EF getting in the mix there as well.
We have Magnus Kort here. Number 105 at the back there from Lotto is Victor Vizcava. Is she still hanging on at the back for UAE after having his hand up for the car? And we're now over the top of that last ramp that we saw, and on our way falls flat downhill back to Lignano.
Look at the speed in the peloton though, to keep the peloton this strung out. Okay, I know there's a few roundabouts and things to deal with which usually sort of strings the peloton out, but it's definitely fast.
It's all back together. 8.4 kilometers to go. Alaphilippe sits on the wheel of Stevenijns. Corvi moves up. Trentin sits behind them. Has Trentin got anything left for a run to the line? He's been attacking today, hasn't he?
It always seems to be quite aggressive in the last couple of years now. At least he's been racing very aggressively, but it always seems to have that little bit left when they come into the finish as well to just to finish it off.
Sia Cortina being moved up by Jose Joaquin Rojas on the right as we look at it in the navy jersey. Just under 8 kilometers remain, and Alaphilippe going to work, asking the question on the radio.
If they sit up and slow the peloton down here now, then I think it's going to become very difficult to control the peloton. If you give any rider who's been sat a little bit further back here now, who's been sheltered for the majority of the time, that springboard opportunity to attack on, you could really find yourself in a difficult position to chase them down.
Just over 7 kilometers from the finish. It's all back together. Willem van Wilder, who's done a great job attacking the race today, now has to try and keep the strong out. He has Quinten Hermans on his wheel from Intermarché.
The load up there still working as well.
And now Ballerini moves up. Cataldo on the radio as well for Trek Segafredo. Ballerini's actually sitting on the wheel of Stevenijns there. Alaphilippe does his shoes up. So I imagine now, if you're Quick Step or Final, you're going to pivot to try and win this race with Ballerini in the sprint.
Yeah, you'd have to at this point. I think there aren't enough sort of difficult moments left on the course for further attacks from the likes of Alaphilippe. So right now the best option is to go all in for a sprint with Ballerini. But now we're starting to see all of the other teams coming up here as well, starting to challenge for position to make sure that they're in formation, getting ready for the lead out.
Sevenot is still there as an extra man to give something as well. I wonder what is left for Cofidis. Remember, they started the day with Thomas, Chimolai and Consomni, the fastest of those three, you would imagine.
Yeah, I would have said so, and coming off a recent win as well, so I think it's definitely for him they're going to work.
6 kilometers to go. We saw Joan Garcia Cortina up there as well with Rojas.
We're yet to see Viviani.
Get your eagle eyes ready, Maggie, because if he is there, that will have been a very, very good job today by Ineos Grenadiers and him. A reminder, winning yesterday in Croatia.
Judging by the size of this group, I would be surprised if it's not still in here.
Segafredo keeping things going. Bilo lending his strength to it. Where's Andrea Vendrame as well? Got the legs done to everybody else's sprint. Can he suddenly be one of the faster riders? Just over 5Ks to go. The kilometres are flying past and almost disappearing into thin air here. many Ineos Grenadiers jerseys towards the front. There's a couple in the middle as we looked at it there.
Yeah, but that's okay though. They don't need to be there until maybe 1,500 meters to go up here with a couple of riders with Viviani on the wheel. Then let the rest of the teams and riders sort of take care of this part of the running towards the line. Just stay together, stay calm, and then hit it hard when you get there.
Viviani was a winner in 2014. Knows what to do here. Under 4.5 kilometres remain in Coppa Bernocchi. We've had attacking racing to now. We've got the former world champion pulling at the front for Quick Step Alpha Vinyl as it's come back together, and it looks as though we're heading for a sprint in Legnano. Last year it was an attacking race that was won. We haven't had a bunch sprint for 4 years here. Sonny Colbrelli winning the last big one there. Sprinters winning in smaller groups, but this is one big bunch. Niolo Cometa moving a few riders up. And a word, by the way, for Sean Yates, who was sports director for the final time in his career the other day. The Giro dell'Emilia. Good top 10 placing for Lorenzo Fortunato. Happy retirement, Sean. Just another 4Ks to go, but looking around there by Cimolai, who is up there. Looking to see where Consonni is. Another kilometre ticks by. Just over 3 to go, and still Alaphilippe puts on the pace at the front. It's been a really strong performance in attacks and breaks for him today. He's now trying to set up his teammate Davide Ballerini for a sprint win at the Coppa Bernocchi. There's been quite the list of Italian winners above anybody down the years, and I'm sure it's a list that Ballerini would love to join. Last year it was Renko Evenepoel for his team. This year it's been a very different kind of race. We're back into Legnano now, the town where we started. 3 kilometres to go, and even Mauri Forsevano's getting in on the act to try and set things up.
UAE looking well organised on the wheel there though as well. 2.7 kilometres to go.
Matteo Trentin, remember, they are one of the top teams in the world at the minute. Bobby Starr, who won at the weekend with Imbric Mas in Emilia on that climb just outside of Bologna. San Luca. Today they're going to try and sprint with Ivan Garcia Cortina, the man from Asturias. They are flying here. Road furniture everywhere as well. Negotiated well. 2 kilometres to the line. Step Alpha Vinyl keeping the pace, but their sprinter sitting further down the line. Rider moves up from Alpecin de Koenig. Looks to be Sbaragli, I think, or is it Stannard? Trentin at the back of that line. There is Ballerini, strong alongside him. And strong also, like Trentin has been attacking the race. Ballerini's been sitting back. Is that going to be of any assistance as now UAE takes over? Alaphilippe has done 1.5 kilometres to go, and it's quite the train for the Emirati squad.
It is a very good train, very, very strong train indeed. Long turn needed here now and then, they can really pick up the pace. Yet to see Ineos Grenadiers or Viviani.
Corvi it is doing the big turn at the front for UAE. Stakkelongen is up there as well. Oh dear, and we've got riders going the wrong side there. We've got riders going the wrong side, and that could be that because we're into the final kilometre. There goes Stakkelongen with that turn. It was Trek Segafredo who made the mistake on that far side. They look to be out of the game.
Liepens made that mistake.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Now 800 metres to the line. Stakkelongen, the Norwegian, is done. Corvi is sitting just in front of Trentin. It's Ulissi now, 600 metres to the line. A couple of riders from Ageldose are trying to move up. You imagine that Vendrami is the main man for them. Again, looking to see if we can see the presence of Elia Viviani as we see a couple of riders from Ineos do move up, but it's now lead out time, 400 metres to go and a big one needed, and it's Ulissi who's trying to do it. You can see Ulissi peels off. It's Corvi behind who has a go, and now we're up to going to 100 metres to go. The sprint is launched. It's Ballerini who's there, Trentin behind him, Ballerini going to the line, and Ballerini has it. Quick step off of Vinyl, make it 2 years. And that is a really impressive win by Davide Ballerini. The Italian is the winner of the 103rd Coppa Bernocchi in the first bunch sprint for 4 years. I'm afraid we didn't see too much of that sprint at the end,
no.
But it was Ballerini who got in front by the time we did see it. Ballerini who held it to the finish. And after all the impressive work from UAE Emirates, he sat, he waited, and he was the fastest, Magnus.
Yeah, he was. Perfect timing as well, the way he just surfed the wheels of UAE and then launched the sprint. Just anticipated slightly the sprint of Trentin, but it was a strange run into the line as well. It was no one challenging UAE for the run in there. Ultimately, I think Ballerini had the perfect situation anyway, and thanks to his team, we did an awful lot of work there relatively early on. It just goes to show a lead. That doesn't have to mean that you're all the whole team together and you have your sprinter on the wheel. Just need to keep him in the right place. But by the time Ballerini got to the front here, he was by far the quickest.
Garcia Cortina was coming up. You could see that there wasn't enough organisation really for Alpecin de Koning, because that was Oldani, their best placed rider through the centre. And no Elia Viviani, certainly in the top, amongst the top riders there. It looked as though doing the sprinting for Ineos was Jonathan Narvaez.
I think is that Corbin Strong as well coming up there?
Yeah, he's got second place, I think.
Yeah,
a strange old sprint, as you say. Didn't feel like it ever really got going.
No, you were looking for more riders to challenge and more teams to challenge, but I think there's a couple of teams that really didn't get much out of that at